All right, everybody. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of the Krakens Lair Comics. I'm filming this obviously outside, so there could be some dogs running around. We could hear some birds chirping. Hey, man, it's nature. Get out in it. Um, just real quick. Well, first of all, thank you to my 140 wonderful, amazing subscribers. It's so funny. Like I'll get up to 140, and then I'll like drop one or two, and I'll be like 138 and then get back up to 140, and I'll drop a couple. So hey man, one day maybe that 150, it's achievable. Tell a friend, tell a friend of a friend, tell a stranger. Hey man, Crackers Lair. If you like comics and interesting, weird people, like you have found your place. So real quick, I have been out of pocket here for over a little bit over a month. Um, on one of my videos, I commented that my father passed away on December 29th. There was some circumstances surrounding his passing that I was really, really struggling with. Not to get into that here. I've been a consumer of alcohol for many, many, many years. And since his passing, it really got on top of me. And I was struggling significantly. So I voluntarily checked myself into a 30-day rehabilitation clinic to deal with alcohol addiction and talk to some therapists and work through some stuff. I'm doing great. Today is 35 days sober with no alcohol. That's a huge milestone for me. If any of my viewers out there, if you're struggling with alcohol or substances, there's help available. If you're able to be one of those people that can like have a couple of beers and set that stuff down, you're very lucky, and I applaud you for that. So moving on here, we're gonna do some comics. I got a few comics right before I checked myself in on April 29th, and they were waiting for me when I got out this past Saturday, 5 days ago. So this episode is called "How Green Is Your Goblin?" All right, now I can move a little bit closer here. I'm gonna get my pillow. I've shown this book many times because I love it. I'm a huge Green Goblin fan. I'm a huge fanatic when it comes to any kind of monsters. Dracula, Frankenstein, the Wolfman, Creature of Black Lagoon, the Mummy. King Kong. I dig it all. This was such a grail book for me for many, many years. I purchased it from Chris on the We Love Comics channel. He actually has a sneak preview right now for a comic auction. Don't want to misquote, but I think it's this coming Sunday. So today's Wednesday, Thursday, so just a couple of days from now. Some real good stuff. He's got the Death of Gwen Stacy, the Death of Green Goblin, some real big boy books. He's got a Daredevil #1 he's selling. He's got a giant size X-Men #1 he's selling. He doesn't charge any taxes. Saves you a lot of money for talking a very expensive book. He ships everything amazingly, bomb-proof packages. I've been buying books from this guy for years, and big boy books. I've never, ever, single time, it's amazing, never had a problem. So that's that. But yeah. He also offers a layaway plan. I'm not sure what his current tier level is, but if you're talking like a book that's $500 or more, he will work with you as long as you're making like good faith payments. So you can acquire a book that you don't have to say have $800 like blam. You can send him a couple $100, and every month, you can work it out with him. But he has a payment plan. So anyway, everybody, how green is your goblin? So this is one of the ones that arrived. This is Amazing Spider-Man, a king-size special, issue number 9. I love this cover. It was done in a magazine format. My understanding, I'm a little bit fuzzy on this. My good friend over at Nostalgic Pod Blast, Chance Bartels, check out his channel as well if you like all things pop culture, video games, action figures, comics, sitcoms from the 70s or 60s or space stuff, Space 1999, Lost in Space. He's got all that stuff. Great content. Anyway, me and him are really good friends. So he's way more knowledgeable about comic books than I am. So I am aware that they do this in a magazine form. One of them has a few extra panels. It might be the comic book form. It could be in the magazine format. Like I said, I'm a little bit unclear on that, but it's one of the two. So I love this cover. Very dynamic. I always like his little like sparkly dust that Goblin's throwing out there. So that came in. I've shown this one. I'm going to move this. That's my second copy of Amazing Spider-Man 14, as you all know, first appearance Green Goblin. This is in chronological order of his appearances. So 14 is his first appearance. He shows up here in issue 17. This is a real fun issue. I've got a collected works of early Spider-Man, so it allows me to read the stories without worrying about damaging a very valuable, expensive book. After issue number 17, we are going to cruise on to next appearance. Over here. All right, there we go. This, of course, because you can see the number on the comic, is Amazing Spider-Man number 23. So here we're at the third appearance of the Green Goblin. I really love this cover. I like the dynamic. I always love Green Goblin's pumpkin bombs. This is also something I've commented on a lot in the past. I have my fingers crossed. One day, I don't care if it's Sony. I don't care if it's Disney. I don't care if it's some independent company that gets temporary rights to Spider-Man. I want to see the comic book version of the Green Goblin. Like the Goblin Serum, Gobby Gobby, his Bat Flyer. I wasn't a big fan of the portrayal of the sort of armored suit with the armored Goblin mask. It was cool seeing the character on film. Both of the actors that portrayed him did an amazing job. It just wasn't my Goblin, man. I want the pumpkin bombs. I want his weird bag of tricks where he's throwing out things that look like bats and ghosts, and the banter between the two of them. I love it. And I really like about this cover, and I'm sitting in a sort of shaded area, but even on this cover, Spider-Man's costume's colors are like a little bit muted, which I really like. I mean, it renders really cool. It's very dynamic, as opposed to just being like so like bright blue, bright red. I love this a lot. I'm always a fan of the little wings, the spiderweb wings underneath his armpits. I love that look. I wish Mego would do an action figure that included that. So if anybody has any inroads to Mego, pass that along. But Dan the Kraken Man wants a Spider-Man action figure with webbing. Next appearance. After number 23, we're moving along. To issue number 27. This is I wasn't talking about the grades of the last ones. 23 is a 4.5. The 17 is a 4.0. However, it was graded like a long time. It was graded in 2004 by a grading company, CGC Group. Not the normal CGC that we know. CGC Group World. So they went out of business. That cover actually, the spine is a little bit rolled, and so that can be fixed with a pressing. Where it's rolled, it didn't create color breaking ticks along the spine. So I really think with a pressing and dry cleaning, I might be able to easily get a 5 with that. Maybe a 5.5, but we'll see. Eventually, I will crack that open and I will send that off, and we will all find that out together. So here we are at number 27. This one, I mean, no Marvel chipping, no major creases on the cover, no chunks or hunks missing out. Obviously, a little bit of edge wear. Some kids read it. That's fine with me. But the colors really pop on this. And this will also one day be getting sent off to be graded. That brings me now. Oh, wait. I got that shit out of order. I know my numbers. My name is Daniel. I'm the Kraken Man. So clearly 26 is the fourth appearance and 27 is the fifth appearance. This cover, it's all right. I think the Goblin's stance on the Goblin flyer looks really kind of like stiff. I'm not seeing a whole lot of action in that pose. However, I do really like, sort of Spider-Man and the Crime Master. I really like how they were done. Obviously I think they were trying to hype the fact that Green Goblin was in here because I'm pretty sure as soon as 14 hit the stands, he had a fan base. So I understand that, but I wish they had either done him better or left him off. They might have really this might have gone by Stan Lee and he's like, no, man, I need the Goblin in there. So, they just threw him in there as kind of an afterthought because he doesn't really seem to be that much a part of the action. There is a lot of light blue background on it. If they had not used the Goblin there, I think a different background, showing something, more of the city or who knows, would have been a little bit better. But I love me some Goblin, and those are the first 5 appearances of the Goblin. Off the top of my head, I don't know what 6 and 7 are, but all you comic book people out there, let your fingers do the walking, do a little Googling, and that information is out there. A number of years back, I was it was before the Spider-Man movie where it looked like they were doing like a sort of Sinister Six thing, and we got teased with a number of characters, and we heard, I think, William Dafoe's little cackle. So I was like, oh, cool. The Goblin's going to be in this, and maybe they're going to get it right. So prior to that movie coming out, before I was like, okay, I need to get the first appearances of Green Goblin. These are going to get ghastly expensive, and I want to not buy them when everybody wants them. Just a fun little one, Goblin related. This is the Red Goblin, and I don't know, he's a newer incarnation of the Green Goblin. It is, I don't know the individual, some guy who literally, he becomes like a Green Goblin using the Goblin serum, but then he gets taken over by Carnage. So it's a Carnage Goblin terrifying mix known as the Red Goblin. Really cool looking. He looks a lot more demonic than the Green Goblin that we know. His version of the Bat Flyer is amazing. It's like some weird demonic dragonfly looking thing, and I absolutely love it. I picked this up. I love the cover. Hard to find a high grade. It's all that black background, but it was just super menacing, and I really, really liked it. So I picked this up for a couple bucks a few years ago. So, I'm just going to leave that up there. So, these next 2 comics, man, go out to my good buddy Dope at Dopetopia, coming at you live underneath the blackened sky. Now, if anybody follows Dope Comics, and you should, because this guy is entertaining as hell. His little spliced in video clips, between you and me, I think maybe Dope could use with a little therapy. He might have some issues. That guy needs to talk out a little bit. He's got some darkness to him, and he's got like a weird darkness to him, which I of course love. One day I want to meet this guy. Because we'd get along great. His whole background where he films his videos is just chock full of monster masks and models, and of course Hulk stuff everywhere because he's a huge Hulk fan. Dope, I'm always jealous that Hulk #1 you have, buddy. Be ever grateful. That's a mega grail. So Dope, everybody check him out. He's awesome. So he loves monsters like I love monsters. There's a little local place in Athens called Wuxtree. I'm going to put up another one here just so you guys aren't looking at the same boring comic. Um, Wuck Street is a record store that's been in Athens for over 40 years. It's a landmark. Up above it, in the same building, they have what's called Wuck Street Bizarro. I did a video fairly recently where I just showed some finds that I found there. Now, I will say, mostly their things are overpriced. If it's any kind of Silver Age, 12 cent, 15 center, they're a little bit overpriced. I mean, I know they got a brick and mortar store. They've been around 40 plus years. I want the guys to stay in business. But usually if I see something there, I get more inspired and I can find it less expensive elsewhere. However, they've been in business 40 years. They have, I wouldn't even hazard a guess how many long boxes of comics that are full. Marvel, DC, independent, indie. If you're willing to take the time and you go flipping through those boxes, you can find some absolute amazing deals. Because who knows how long some of these have been sitting in those long boxes, right? And you can find some really, really, really cool stuff if you're willing to put in the time. Now, I was like, man, it's a perfect day. I want to go look at some comics. I literally this morning, I was looking up, I'm kind of interested in some early 70s House of Secrets, House of Mystery, and The Witching Hour. And they've got some really amazing covers done by amazing artists, Bernie Wrightson and just with a Toth and all, just amazing stuff. And I was looking and I wrote down probably 20, 25 different comics between those three titles: House of Secrets, House of Mystery, and The Witching Hour. And started, looking up on Go Collect, looking at the values, comparing that to what's being sold on eBay, looking to see if I could find some deals. And so I put a number of them in my watch list, and specifically these two comics I'm getting ready to show you were multiple, listings of the same comic on eBay because I'm watching auctions and I'm looking for deals. So I go walking into Wuck Street. Like I said, it's a bright sunny day. I spent 30 days in rehab. So I'm out there living life, my man. Men, women, peeper. Right up front, they had a long box with a sign that said new arrivals. So I'm like, well, okay, that's cool. Before all this stuff gets shelved accordingly to, the title and, the production company, the DC or the Marvel or whatever. I started flipping through it, and immediately it was all kind of haphazard, but I was seeing chunks of Commandy or the New Gods, and it was a lot of that Silver Age 12 cent, 15 cent. And I also noticed real quickly that these were really well cared for, really good condition. So I kept flipping, and I found this. I started finding some House of Secrets. So I'm like, I'm pulling out. I'm like, yeah, you're coming home with me. You're coming home with me. And I was probably about. I mean, the prices on them, $8 here, $10, 12, 15, that kind of range. And then I found these two, and like I said, I just looked at them 5 hours ago, or maybe a little bit longer now. So I knew what the value of these books are, particularly at high grade. And these, my friends, are really, really high grade. I've already transferred them to some top loaders. Anything you see that looks like a ding or a crease or anything is literally either on the bag or the top loader that I put it in. These are perfect. I mean, they're not 9.8 perfect, but these books are 60 years old. 8 to 9. I think that's very possible. If it got anywhere like a 7 or 7.5, I'd be like, the grading gods are having a real shitty day, because I'm not seeing. And I flip through every page of these books, and I advise everyone to do that, because it can look great on the front. Check the back. Maybe it's got some water damage. Check through the book. Make sure Timmy didn't, decide to expand his art ability and color in a bunch of stuff. Make sure there's no missing coupons, no cutout pages, no pinups torn out. All that stuff obviously goes into condition. Checking the staples. Are they tight? Are they pulled at the spine? Is there rust on the staples? You guys know all this stuff. If you're newer to the hobby, make that list, and when you're looking at a comic, and if it's valuable, I would have the owner pull it out and be the one who's flipping through it so you're not on the hook. But yeah, do a page count. Make sure it's complete. Make sure there's no interior damage and all the things that I mentioned. These don't have any of that. And I super excited. They just walked in. I saw they had the price tags on them. So I said, hey man, can you bundle deal these for me? And so he did both of them together for $60. Not inexpensive, but the high grades of these, I could probably turn around very soon from now. Much less if I held on to them for 5-10 years, I would be able to get a huge return of investment. I love this cover. Here you go, dope. House of Secrets, number 98. The sun's on it and all that stuff. But, dude, this is all black background. And like I said, there are no tears. There are no creases. Nothing is missing out of this book. The spine is super straight. And I love this guy. He's like turning into a giant ant. I had to read the story when I saw the cover, but that's what's happening. It honestly is kind of a real obvious Spider-Man knockoff, but in a horror sense. So there's this boxer, and I guess he's about washed up in his career. It's coming to an end. And there's a scientist, and he's like, yes, I have made the serum from the humble ant, and, it can lift 52 times its own weight and all that kind of stuff. And so makes the serum, injects this dude. He gets back to being like a real powerful human or whatever. And so now he's winning. He's the boxing champion of the world and all that stuff. And then a year or so later, I'm giving all the spoilers alert. It was like, all right. A year or so later, the scientist comes running in to, outside where this guy's just had a boxing match. Is trying to find his locker room. He's like, I got to speak to him, man, because it's important. So basically, he found out that the serum, if you don't give, he made an antidote, because basically, if you don't take the antidote, you turn into a giant ant bug. So he didn't get there in time. The door's locked, and so the manager, some cop, security, knocks down the door, and they're, scuttling around the floor is this giant, crazy monster ant insect thing, which of course they shoot. So that explains this cover. I love this. Dope, this is for you. House of Secrets number 91, Death by the Eagle's Talon. So cool. The giant eagle, obviously, crashing through the window with his talons. Always the damsel in distress. Always dressed inappropriately for danger. Lots of mini skirts and high heels with our damsels. None of them are ever like, I got these heavy work boots and pair of, overalls on, and I'm ready to run from monsters. They always look like they're heading off to the discotheque or something. But again, I know the light is not the best out here, but this, anything you're seeing on here is like the artwork or a Lair or something. This is just absolutely a stunner. All black background, not a single color breaking crease on this thing anywhere. Not at all. 60-year-old book. So $30 a piece. This one I'm seeing, and if say this would come back a 9 or a 9.2, I just look where somebody's selling that for $450. Now you guys know how eBay works. Is he going to get $450 for it? Maybe not. But looking still at the Go Collect, The value on this, like a 992, 94, you know, my $30. Obviously, to get it graded and pressed and dry cleaned and all that good stuff is going to cost me a little bit of money. But having these just encapsulated because the covers are so awesome, that suit me. Way too close. That would suit me just fine. Having protected for another 60 years because they are amazing. And if you love monsters and you're maybe you're a superhero guy. My buddy Chance, he's a superhero guy. He calls these Danny books, and I have done very well oftentimes with my Danny books. Like, it's either Tales of Astonish 11 or 13, somewhere there. Like Groot, prior to Guardians of the Galaxy, Groot was just this giant monster from the planet X. Nobody gave two about Groot, or Fin Fang Foom, or Grutu, or all these crazy other monsters that Stan and Steve Ditko and Kirby concocted, in their pre-superhero days. I like superheroes, but man, I just like monsters. Just like it's where I live, man. And if you're unfamiliar, and I'm not even a DC guy, limited, certainly if it's a key DC issue, I don't mind picking those up from time to time. But as a generalization, I'm a Marvel guy. But I do love monsters, so check out House of Secrets. Check out The Witching Hour. Check out House of Mystery. And at this, I'm under 30 minutes, which I like to be. A little bit longer than Dope's like Blitzkrieg, 3-minute video. But after you watch one of his 3 to 5 minute videos, like you almost need to go like lay down for an hour. So hopefully everybody enjoyed this. I'm back. I've got some more comics on the way. I'm going to continue to make comic book videos. Sorry for the gap, people. Life was laughing. And everybody, enjoy comics and enjoy comic book collecting. Look for those deals out there. Have fun hunting through those boxes. You never know what you're going to find. And I will see you guys soon. Have a lovely day.